I still remember the day Sarah packed her things. No shouting, no tears, just silence, and the faint sound of her perfume trailing behind her as she closed the door. She didn't even look back. Keith was waiting for her in the truck outside. My own brother. The same man who stood beside me at my wedding, who toasted to our forever. They drove away together, taking with them every piece of my life that wasn't nailed down, except for one, our son. Ethan was 6 then, pale, small, frail. The doctors had used the word terminal like a period at the end of my world. Sarah couldn't handle it. She said she couldn't watch him die. What she meant was, she didn't want to be seen as the mother who lost. So she left me the dying child, and ran away with the healthy brother. I remember sitting on the hospital floor after she left, Ethan's hand in mine, watching the monitors blink like fading stars. That night, I promised him one thing. If he lived, I'd never let anyone hurt him again. The years that followed were a quiet war. Ethan didn't die, he fought like hell. We sold the house, moved into a smaller place closer to the hospital. I worked nights, studied during the day. Learned what I could about his illness, about treatment, about survival. Hope was expensive, but I paid in full. Meanwhile, Sarah and Keith sent postcards from their new life. Europe, beaches, smiles. No mention of the son they'd buried in their minds. The irony? Ethan asked about them. I told him the truth, that they were gone. Not dead, just gone. He learned early that abandonment leaves a quieter scar than death. At 12, he started to get stronger. By 16, he was running again. By 18, he was healthier than he'd ever been. I watched him rebuild from ashes, and something inside me rebuilt too, but not into forgiveness, into patience. It was year 15 when they came back. I saw their names on the RSVP list for my parents' anniversary dinner. Keith and Sarah, married now, perfect, successful, childless. The world always rewards the shameless, at least for a while. When they arrived, Sarah's hair was lighter, her smile practiced. Keith wore the same smirk I used to see when he won something that wasn't his. They greeted me like distant relatives. Sarah's eyes darted to the empty chair beside me. "So," she said, voice honeyed with fake sympathy. "How's Ethan?" Her pause was deliberate, almost cruel. "The boy who was sick?" Keith chuckled softly, shaking his head. "Man, I still remember how fragile he looked. Poor kid. Didn't make it, huh?" I didn't answer. I just smiled. That was the moment I'd waited 15 years for. I had told Ethan nothing, no warning, no build-up. He thought we were just dropping by for dessert after his college orientation. When he walked in, tall, confident, healthy, the room went silent. Every head turned. And then, their faces. Sarah froze first. Her fork slipped, clattering against the plate. The sound was small, but in that silence, it hit like a gunshot. Keith's smirk vanished. His jaw slackened. "Mom?" Ethan said, soft but steady. She flinched. "You look," she stammered, voice trembling. "You look alive." "I am," he said, "thanks to Dad." He glanced at me then, the way a soldier might look at the one who pulled him from the battlefield. Sarah's eyes filled with something I couldn't name. Guilt, maybe? Or the realization that the life she'd abandoned had outlived her excuses. Keith tried to speak, but the words tangled. We thought—" "I know what you thought," I interrupted, calm, controlled. "You thought he'd die. Easier that way. Convenient." The silence stretched. Every face around the table was watching, waiting. I leaned forward, my voice low. But he didn't. He survived. Every surgery, every night I thought I'd lose him. And while you were sipping wine in Tuscany, he was fighting for air. So tell me, Keith, tell me, Sarah, how's your son doing? Their eyes dropped. They had none. That dinner lasted another 20 minutes, though none of us tasted a thing. Sarah excused herself early, eyes red. Keith followed. They didn't say goodbye. Ethan asked me later, why didn't you tell me who they were? I looked at him, at the man he'd become. Because some truths, I said, are best revealed when they can't hurt you anymore. He nodded slowly, understanding in his silence. Weeks passed. Then one afternoon, a letter arrived in my mailbox. From Sarah. It wasn't an apology, it was a plea. She'd written that she couldn't sleep, that she wanted to see Ethan again, to make things right. I burned it. You can't rewrite the ending of a story you abandoned halfway through. Keith called once too, said he wanted to talk. I didn't answer. Sometimes revenge isn't loud. It's not slamming doors or shouting accusations. Sometimes it's silence, the kind that forces the guilty to listen to their own echoes. Last month, Ethan graduated top of his class. He stood on that stage, strong and certain, his name announced to a room full of people who didn't know what he'd survived. When they applauded, I felt something inside me finally unclench. 15 years ago, they left me with a dying boy. Today, that boy walked across a stage as a man, alive, proud, unstoppable. As for Sarah and Keith, I heard they've been struggling. No kids, no peace, just ghosts that sound like my son's laughter. Poetic, isn't it? They once left a boy to die. Now they're the ones living with what they buried. The memory of the son who lived and the faces they made when he walked back into the room. Their faces were priceless.